Welcome everyone to the Atlassian Community Brisbane and lots of other people co-hosting all across Australia and New Zealand. I think we get Canada and bits of Nigeria and all sorts of other things as well, which is very fun. I'm really excited to introduce Jens Schumacher from Released. I'm particularly thrilled that we actually met at High Velocity in Sydney, like you're meant to when you go to things and meet useful people. And when we were thinking about planning this series of focuses on app vendors, I thought the stuff that he's doing with his team is super cool. I'll let him explain his background as well with Atlassian. Over to you, Jens.
Thank you so much. That was a very enthusiastic intro. Love it. That's awesome.
I try.
Yeah. I would love to also, like, someday I have to find an excuse to come to Brisbane for an actual in-person event. That would be amazing. So my name is Jens, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Released, and we basically help teams to communicate product updates to start with, but we expand the scope of the app quite a bit over the next 12 months, and I'll talk about this more in a bit. But in terms of background, I actually worked at Atlassian for quite a while. I started in 2004 when the company had 12 people, and I left Atlassian in 2019 after 15 years to join another startup, an AI company that a friend of mine was running. And we did that for 2 years, and we sold that company to Algolia. And then finally, I did the thing that I always wanted to do at some stage, is founding my own company. And just the idea that we had basically led us back to Atlassian, because one of the big pain points that I felt at a startup, but also at Atlassian, was communicating product updates to your customers, but also to internal stakeholders. And Atlassian was really hard with a distributed team around the world to get the sales team and the marketing team all on the same page. And it was always some meetings, and you always knew that people didn't quite understand what was going on in product from a roadmap perspective, but also what has been released. There was a lot of surprises even internally in terms of what has going out. And the same is obviously true for external customers as well. Just like yesterday, I tried to figure out what's been new in like one of the Atlassian products, Jira Product Discovery, that I've been using, and it's just really hard to find updates. So we decided, how do we make this easier for people to do? And that's the background. Now, I'm going to start with a short presentation just on kind of best practices and why you should care in the first place, but then also jump into the product and show you some of the app itself that we've been building over the last kind of year now. All right, so the first thing is writing product updates sucks. It's there's no way around it. It's not fun. Nobody likes doing it because it involves a couple of steps that are quite annoying. The first thing is gathering the changes, finding out actually what's new and noteworthy, and passing through the whole kind of issue backlog of tasks that have been completed. Then the writing part, like some people are good at writing, some people are less good. It's quite hard. And the question is, can we make that a little bit easier? And then lastly, consistency of doing those updates as well. It's easy to do it once, but if you want to do it weekly and also find a way to publish it, that's not an easy task. So we took those three things and looked at how do we make these simpler. Because this is kind of the state that you see today in terms of writing release notes. Usually the apps that kind of help you write release notes, they present you with like an empty screen, like you put in a title, you put in a description, but you basically on your own, like work it out. Now they have like some AI capabilities, or like write a couple of things and we make it sound better, but it doesn't really have the context of your work to inform that AI input. So it's still pretty basic, most of the tools. Now, let's step back for a minute and look at why we should care in the first place. I think, first of all, we can look at the external customer communication benefits. Obviously, the more you communicate updates, it can actually lead to increased conversions, because if a user comes to your website and they see that you release new product updates and changes every month or even every week, they're much more likely to purchase your product because they know there's innovation happening. They know that even if there's a feature that's not available right now, you might get that in the future. The same is true for loyalty and retention. If customers feel like they are listened to and updates keep coming in with features that they've requested, that obviously makes them want to stick with you as well. And then lastly, it's also an opportunity to cross-sell and upsell customers. So for example, if you have two products and you announce a feature or an integration in the release notes and make that visible to all your existing customers, it's like they usually don't come across this, or maybe they would have never found out that that capability exists and you can cross-sell them. But I think for internal updates, it's even like the benefits are even more relevant or just as powerful. So the first one is just getting alignment between all the different customer-facing teams, the go-to-market teams, whether it's marketing, support, or sales, getting everyone on the same page and getting the message out. What have we been releasing? Like, what is the messaging that we're using? Why is it important? Is just really, really critical. The other thing is stakeholders like to stay informed of what's been delivered. So that's the second aspect there, like making it easy for you to update your stakeholders on a frequent basis so they have trust in the team and the capabilities that you're building. And largely cross-team alignment as well. At a company like Atlassian, you have a lot of people contributing to like the same product or a platform team that basically a lot of other teams depend on. So how do you communicate between all those teams on what's new and the dependencies that people need to know about? Now, let's talk about what those updates look like. I'll fly through them a little bit. The first one, here are common problems that people usually find with product updates. First of all, they're not discoverable. Nobody finds them. You don't know where they are. Second one, they're not very frequent or you don't know when they're coming in. Then sometimes you just find a wall of text or they're too brief or there is like no effort was put into them. And here's a few examples, like no effort was put into them. So, and I think this is like a big one. I think and we want to enable this as well, that you can just fully automate the updates. The thing is, there should be some level of effort and thought put into those updates as well. So either you prepare the input that goes into the update to make sure that the output is really, really valuable to people, or you just create most of the update or the kind of the mundane parts of the update and then focus on the key selling proposition and put some effort in there. So I think that's really important that I think if something is just generated and people know, like they're less likely to read it. So try to make them exciting. Now let's talk about some of the great things here. Like first of all, what you can use is media in updates. So use images, use a Loom video that takes people through the presentation. That's just really engaging, in particular for internal updates where it doesn't have to be as polished when you create a video like this, but you can really show people like how a feature or capability is supposed to work rather than just describing it with text. So I highly recommend putting pictures into your updates or just pasting a link to a Loom video in there. The second one is user-centric language. So I think actually Microsoft, as we're using Teams here, they actually do a great job with their product updates when they talk about what the benefits are. So in this case was like a release in July 2023, zoom in and out of screen sharing during a Teams meeting. So rather than talking about like arbitrary like Zoom or Zoom feature, they really spell out what is the benefit and how does it work for customers. So yeah, take a look at the Teams release notes and yeah, get inspired. They're doing a good job. Organization as well. If you have a lot of updates like Shopify here, you really want to group your updates so people can self-select on what they're interested in. So they have a whole bunch of different categories that you can then, the end user or the reader can go and filter and just self-select that they might just be interested in billing or in the analytics capabilities, and they don't have to read all the other stuff. So make sure that you categorize it and make, instead of just using bugs and new features, use categories that are actually applicable to parts of the product that people care about. Engaging as well. So I think product updates, usually you think of release notes or product updates as something that just happened, but you can also use it as a tool to get people excited about things that are coming and get them to subscribe to a wait list. So there's an app called Raycast, and they do a great job getting people excited about new features, watching a teaser video, and then getting them to sign up for the waitlist to get early feedback on what they've been developing. And then lastly, you want to make sure that the app is discoverable. I want to, or the release notes are discoverable. And I want to double down on that one because it's important. We got a lot of requests about emails. And hey, can you send the updates via emails? It's something we don't support, and it's something we pushed out on purpose because emails are actually a pretty bad medium for people to update you on what's new, because most of the emails are just not read. People get so many emails, so you want to figure out like, hey, where do we put them in a better place where people actually find them and read them. So for external release notes, this is an app called Sketch, and they put them front and center into their like product main navigation. They have a what's new section there, and they highlight the last 3-4 features that they worked on right there. So putting it front and center on your website, as we mentioned earlier, is really good for conversion, and it shows that you're innovating. And Sketch has to show that they're innovating because they got obviously overtaken quite a bit by Figma in the last few years. So that's the section there. And just like, yeah, in general, just there's other places for internal release notes. There's Slack notification that people use. We allow sharing to Confluence, but also we're creating a portal where you want to send people to. And I think that's the best place. If you have one place where people know they can go for updates and get all the news that they need to see, that's rather than having to go to 5 different places for 5 different applications, because one team has their product updates in Confluence here, the other one in SharePoint there. You kind of want to consolidate that in one location for all the teams. And basically, those are the things that we're trying to solve and make easier with Released. And yeah, let's jump into a demo. Any questions so far, though? I'll just continue on, and then we'll go to questions after this demo. So this is Released. Just to jump out, the way you get to Released is there's a global menu that's called the Product Hub. So if you go to a Product Hub, you will see a number of what we call spaces, and each space is intended to communicate product updates to a particular audience. So this could be internal updates, this could be marketing and sales updates that are just designed for them, public release notes, or even just sprint updates from a development team that wants to send an update after every sprint and keep the stakeholders informed. So we're going to look at the public release notes right now. And once you go in there, you'll see that there's a bunch of posts already. You also see there's a roadmap, so that's something that we're working on. I can talk about this soon, but basically, in addition to updates, we also want to help people communicate their plans better, and that's a feature that we're working on next and coming soon. But back to updates. In order to create a new post, basically what you have to do is create post, and I should explain something first. First of all, this space is linked to a project. So basically what that means is that we first of all, we can go to this project and we'll see that there's a release portal here as well that will show our release notes right in this portal. So these are the release notes that we already published. So for teams or other people coming to this particular project, they see the release notes right there. But what you can then also do is you can go to the space, and this connection also tells us that when we create a new release note, that we want to look at issues from this particular project. So that's what we're doing now. We create a new post, and we want to include all the changes that have been completed since the last announcement. You can also pick a specific version. So in this case, we don't have versions, but if you have versioned releases, you can say, give me all the changes that are in version 2.7 or 2.8. In this case, we just stick to the last announcement one, just get the issues that are done and get started. Now, what you will see here on the right-hand side, these are all the tasks and epics that we completed. So you can click on one of those, and here for implement a feature of a backup and restore, I think I have unsaved changes here. Okay. See, so this is basically the description here. It's not well formatted, but these are user stories. As a user, I should be able to initiate a backup process from within the apps. So this is kind of the description of this task. And basically what we want to do, we want to take this description and turn it into a release note. Let me just see if I can make this a little bit nicer here, I think. Yeah, that's the one. Save this. So here you can see there's a acceptance criteria. The user should be able to initiate a backup. Backup should include all tasks. So this is like an imagined task management app that we're working on. All right. So and basically, in order to do this, you can simply select the story here, and there's a button at the top that says generate. So what this does now is it takes the title and this description and turns it into a release notes that's more user-facing. And you can customize this. I'll show you that in a second as well, based on issue type and based on your audience that you want to communicate to. You can customize the AI prompt to cater for that audience, make the task less or more, the description less or more technical. Once it's completed, you can just simply drag and drop this in here, and here you basically have your description. We're pleased to announce the enhancement to our task management application that greatly improves data security and recovery. Users can now access new features. So that's great. We get this description. You can customize it a little bit, but it's usually a really good first step that summarizes everything you do. If you want, you can add an image here, just like drag and drop that into the text. That's great as well. And then lastly, we want to have a section here with bug fixes. So I can add bug fixes, then have a star, and select the 2 bug fixes at once, generate the description there as well. You will see these actually don't have any descriptions, just unable to search for subtasks when filtered by sprint. But for bug fixes and small tasks, this usually is enough of context that still gives us a good description here. Now we've improved our search function to ensure that subtasks are easily discoverable even when filtering by sprint. So it just creates like a nice message there as well. Now this is like all manual. The first thing that people are asking is like, well, I want to use a template. I want to not do this all manually. So if we delete all this again, what you can also do is you can create one of these posts with a template. So if I discard this real quick, let's create this again. So when you come here, you can also see you start either with an empty page or with a release notes template. And just to show you what that template looks like, in the admin, you can create a template that has specific sections. So in this case, we have a title, and that's an AI-generated title that we generate based on the context or based on the tickets that are actually in the release note. The same is true for the description. The introduction is like a AI-generated introduction. And then you can specify different sections. So in this case, we have a section that includes all the issues of type epic and story and puts them in there. And then here we have an issue list, improvements and bug fixes, and it uses all like task and bugs and does the same. And if you want, you can go and customize the AI prompt to make it like sound different. That's up to you. But this gives you the flexibility. This is how easy it is to create a template. Now, if we go back to our draft here. So I can basically hit on the select template. It identified 5 issues that match the issue types that we just saw in the template. And you can say generate post. And now it generates the description for all the tasks on the right-hand side. And it's still doing this. And then the intro and then the title once it has done that. Enhanced task and backups. We're going to latest update of Task Manager, our ability to back up our tasks when we store them with ease. And here's the details. And here at the bottom, you'll find the improvements and bug fixes. And one thing that we do that's quite nice is like on each, if you look at each of these sections, you will see there's an issue link down there. So you can click on it to get to the issue. And once we publish this as well, you will see that you can also publish this to Confluence. I'll get to that in a second. So once published, you can now go to view the post. So that will take us to the portal, and you can see the post here. And as you see here, like these issue keys are still in there, and it's customizable whether you want them in there or not. But once you go in there, the nice thing is it also shows the reverse. So on a particular issue, you see which release notes this was mentioned in. So here you see release notes, enhanced task management, and backup and restore, and it links back to the release notes as well. So it's really easy to find the way around. Now, that was the that's how you publish it, and how you view them. But also I mentioned Confluence. So if we go from here to Confluence, because we published it to Confluence as well, you will see under release notes, enhance backup and restore. The update was published to Confluence as well. And again, it links the Jira tickets here as well. So in that's great for internal communication, especially Confluence, because now you can have the sales team like go in and leave questions and say, how does this work? And you can have a conversation with them on kind of the update and what's new there. The other way we published to Confluence, and it shows in Jira, but you might want to embed it in your app or on your website as well. So if we go back here to the release notes, you can see under settings, there's two ways at the moment to embed it. Number one is as a widget, and you see that here. So this is kind of what that looks like once embedded. You see the task that we just added is here. And you can customize the colors of this and the text that gets shown as well, and where it shows, bottom left, bottom right. It's a small screen now, so it doesn't really help much, but also has dark mode and light mode. So that's one view. And then the second view is a full page that you typically embed into your website as a what's new kind of section. Yeah, and that's pretty easy to include. You just have two scripts that you include into the HTML of the website or into your app, and that's all it takes to configure this. And lastly, I think it's worthwhile talking about the AI. So I mentioned at a template level, you can customize the prompt for each of those sections, but here there's also a general prompt customization that you can use that applies to all of the tickets. And the first one is a custom prompt. So usually what you would do here is you can provide an example of the release notes that you have, or say like a certain style of language, or kind of like mention the product names, give some context to the AI so it knows what to talk about. So that's great for this. But then the other thing that's really cool is that you have issue type specific prompts. So for example, here you can see that the epic has a long description and an inspirational language. The bugs have a short description and inspirational as well. So maybe you want to change this to like short and technical instead, and you can preview and see what that then looks like once you apply this AI model there. So stop this camera run. And then you can, if you really want, you can also say, okay, give me a custom prompt, write a paragraph in a playful tone, use emojis. Use emojis. See what that does. So yeah, that gives you an idea of search enhancements. It's pretty good emoji. So yeah, that's kind of how you can customize the prompt and make it suitable to the audience that you want to communicate to. Yeah, I think that's basically it so far. So you have the changelog that you can use, and then next up, what we're working on is the roadmap as well. So you can kind of create a roadmap and context around the roadmap as well to communicate it to stakeholder. The whole idea there is that we want to kind of replace the copy and paste into a keynote and then people presenting from a keynote presentation. And instead, you just use the live data that you can go to, like the teams can go to and ask questions there and see what's going on. But also for the teams who develop the roadmap, they have the ability to curate the roadmap a little bit more compared to the actual like tasks that they're working on or the roadmap that is defined in Jira Product Discovery. So that's the high level there. And I think I hit my half an hour. So hopefully we have some time for a few questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jens. That's really interesting for anyone thinking about how to communicate better with their customers. Let's see whether anyone's got anything. Otherwise, I'll try and inject something. like a university lecture, isn't it? Someone will ask something and then elaborate things. I guess like whilst we're waiting, you're using a lot of fancy pants, lovely Gen AI stuff here. I'm really interested, like, how are you finding it working with that technology to build a product? Like, I know it's not about the product itself, but like from that end of things, like how's that changing stuff versus like you building this kind of thing 3 or 5 years ago?
Well, I think like a lot of this capability we couldn't have built 4 or 5 years ago. Like that really became possible in 2022, late 2022. That's when we started looking at the idea and started playing with OpenAI, and then the ChatGPT happened, and from like in December when it was still amazing and everybody was like mind blown that you could generate something like this, to February where it just became expected. So that was an interesting thing. But I think the unique thing is that just the workflow, how we optimize it. The AI itself is what we do right now, to be honest, is fairly generic. We optimize the prompt quite a bit and added capabilities here, obviously, to customize it nicely and adjust it to Jira. And I think that's what is really unique about this, is that you don't have to copy and paste the description of each item into ChatGPT and then like back. And so we can create something holistically where we pull the tickets in first, create the description for those tickets, then create a intro, then create a title for it. Just the workflow around it is pretty specific and nice. And I think as we move forward, we're also looking at feedback, in particular when we have the roadmaps, to incorporate feedback from customers. And that's when we're starting to look at like more sophisticated AI embeddings and classification to help people curate the feedback and work with like large amounts of data and large amounts of feedback. So that's a project that we're starting on soon.
Thank you very much.
Do people need to? Yeah. There was a question, do people need to write better descriptions? So it really depends on what you use. Like sometimes just a short description is pretty good. It depends on what you want the output to be and what the input is. So usually from a user story or what I had there, like a spec, you can generate pretty good outputs. Sometimes what I see people do, and we added that capability here, that you can customize the field that you use as the input, is that the regular description is used as like a more technical field for the developers where they communicate what needs to be done on the task, but then they use a separate field to describe the feature a bit more user facing, and they use that field as the input for the AI. So, but the nice thing is then you might just have to write like a short list of bullet points, and it can use that to generate a pretty good description.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Jens. Everyone else is just saying thank you. Okay. If we've not got any more, thank you so much. Really interesting, and it's really nice to see this stuff. So I'm already thinking about ways that I can help my teams communicate better and releases. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you enjoyed it, thank you. Thanks everyone for attending. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can reach me under jens@released.so. Just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to, if you want a demo, like another demo, I guess, for your team, or have any questions, more than happy to answer any questions that you have after this.
Thanks, Jens.